Chapter 3. How to Qualify for a Home Loan. Dear children, now it's time to get into the practical side of everything. It's time to talk about the important steps that you need to take to start your real estate journey on the right path. The first step is to have the right mindset about real estate. I hope the 2 chapters before this one helped you to get there and see the bigger picture. One thing that I've learned thus far in life is that to be truly successful at anything, your why has to be your biggest motivator. Your why must be bigger than your self-gratification. When I talk about your why, I'm talking about the real reason you are doing what you are doing. Your why will help you during the toughest of times to continue to push forward and never give up no matter how bad the situation gets, because your why is greater than your suffering. The second step is to see where you stand when it comes to your credit score. I genuinely hope that by the time you read this, your credit score is at least an 800, because your mother and I would have taught you how to accomplish this before turning 18. If your credit score is an 800 or more, don't worry. There are many things you can do to increase it. I remember a time when my score was in the low 500s. I was young and I didn't understand how credit worked. My credit cards were almost always maxed, and I had to add money to my credit card just to use them. Even with all that, I increased my credit score over time, and your mother and I managed to purchase our first property. You will need to research how to increase your credit score, or if you don't have any credit, you will need to find out how to get credit. There are many resources you can use to help you with your credit score. I could write another book from the different ways to do this, but they might be outdated by the time you're reading this. They could also be different depending on the country you are living in. But this is why I always insist on doing your research. This book is like the road that will lead you to the bigger picture. Keep in mind that over time, new roads will form that will lead you to the same destination. Or maybe this current road will need to be reconstructed over time. You might encounter some roadblocks along the way. That's why it's essential to keep up with changes and do your research no matter what. With that said, here are a couple of things you can do to maintain a good credit score. Ensure that you pay your bills on time and don't use more than 20% of your credit limit. Also, keep your credit cards running for a long time to reflect a consistent payment history. Try to have different types of credit, but remember not to apply for any other loans a couple of months before applying for your home loan. Applying for a loan beforehand will drastically drop your credit score and affect your home loan chances. If you already have the cash to purchase the rental property yourself, you won't have to worry about some of the things I discuss in this chapter. On the other hand, remember that it is sometimes better to get a loan and save your own money. This way, you use other people's money, the bank, private investors, etc., to build your empire. The bank is your business partner, especially when you get a loan from them. They are the ones putting in the majority of the money to fund your deal, which means that you will need to prove to the bank that you can make your payments on time. Your payment history will help them gauge the likelihood of you paying them back fully, including all the interest they will be charging you. Your credit score helps them figure out how reliable you are as a business partner. The higher your score, the more credible you are, making it easier for them to give you a loan. Although the banks are your partners, remember that they are making a lot of money off you. They make sure that they are always protected, and very rarely do they lose all their money when dealing with home loans. By the time you finish paying for your property, the banks will have collected 3 times, if not more, the amount of the original loan from you. On an average 30-year mortgage, you will be paying more of the interest than the principal, the amount that you originally borrowed from the bank to purchase the house. This will be the case until about year 20 of a 30-year loan. You can use an amortization calculator to determine when more of your monthly mortgage payments will be going towards your actual loan principal than paying the interest. Mortgage calculators can be found all over the internet and in app stores. This is an example of when your why comes into play. You understand that you will pay for your house probably 3 times over before your amortization period ends. But it is the cost you pay to build your empire. If your why is big enough, you will need to have this type of mindset. The good thing is, you will get other people, renters, to pay for the property anyway. The third step is that you need to make sure that your debt-to-income ratio is low. To achieve this, you need to ensure that the amount you pay toward your debts each month is lower than the amount you make each month. You don't want to have a lower income than the amount you pay back towards your debt. To calculate your debt-to-income ratio, you need to add up all the payments you make monthly towards your debt. This includes anything that's on your credit report, including anything in collections, if any, and also include any child support payments if you have any. Then you add up all of your usable gross income. Gross income is the money you get before taxes are taken out. For your income to qualify as usable income, you will have to be working at the same job or in the same industry for at least 2 years. Remember that these standards might change over time or might differ depending on the country you live in. So it is essential to do your research and talk to your mortgage broker to make sure the income you want to use is deemed usable. Once you have your total debt payments and your applicable gross income, you now have to account for the new mortgage payments you will start paying if you get approved for the loan. Your mortgage broker will help you determine your mortgage payments, which depends on the following: the interest rates that they are offering you, the cost of the property, if it is a fixed or variable rate, and your down payment amount. You then add your new mortgage payments to your total debt payments. Divide that number by your usable gross income to get your debt-to-income ratio. Let me give you an example of how this will work using some numbers. Let's say your monthly minimum credit card payment is $200 and your car payments and student loan payments are $800 a month. Your current monthly debt is $1,000. You then go to your mortgage broker because you found a property that you want to buy. Let's say he or she tells you that your monthly mortgage payments will be $2,200 per month, including the monthly taxes and insurance. When you add this to your current monthly debt of $1,000, your total monthly debt will now be $3,200. In this example, we will say that your total usable monthly income is $8,000, which can include your partner's income and anyone else who will be on the mortgage. Remember that the equation for calculating your debt-to-income ratio is your total debt payments per month divided by your usable monthly income. Using this example to calculate your debt-to-income ratio, you divide $3,200 by $8,000. Your answer will then be 0.4, and you will need to multiply this number by 100 to get a percent. Therefore, the total debt-to-income ratio for this example will be 40%. Currently, a debt-to-income ratio under 35% is considered good. However, remember that by the time you read this, the standard could have changed. Anything above 35% could mean you might not qualify, depending on the type of loan you are applying for. Remember, you can play around with the total usable income by adding other people onto the loan if you have to, or by using business income as well. There are a couple of different ways you can decrease your debt-to-income percentage, like paying off some old debt, etc. Make sure to talk to your mortgage broker about this. It's in their best interest for you to qualify for the loan, because if you do, that means they get paid as well. The fourth step you need to take is to ensure that you have enough money to cover your closing costs and down payment. Additionally, you have to make sure that you have enough money left over to cover your regular lifestyle bills. Some lenders even look at how long your money has been sitting in your savings account. Closing costs differ from place to place, depending on where you are buying your property. Closing costs include land transfer tax, lawyer fees, property appraisal fees, if needed, and possibly inspection fees. The seller also has their expenses to pay, including paying for the real estate agent who showed you the investor property. For now, we will just focus on you as the buyer. Closing costs, on average, are about 5% of the purchase price. Remember, this is different depending on where you are buying and the type of deal you are structuring. You will have to do research and talk to your real estate agent, lawyer, and mortgage broker to estimate the total closing costs in that area. Once you have mastered the steps above, getting a loan shouldn't be a problem. A unique situation you might find yourself in will be if you end up buying multiple properties. In this situation, that means your debt-to-income ratio will increase. The good thing is, if you rent out those properties, then the money you get from the tenants can be considered as usable income as well, which allows you to buy more properties. Eventually, the banks will simply say no to you getting a new loan with them because you have too much money borrowed out, even if your debt-to-income ratio is still good. At this point, you will have to start looking at private lenders, hard money lenders, partners, or finding other creative ways to fund your deals. I will talk about these creative ways in a future chapter. The only problem with private lenders or hard money lenders is that their interest rates are higher than what the banks would offer, which will negatively affect your profits. A creative way to fund your project would be to do what's called a syndication, which requires getting a group of people to invest with you. These investors will combine their money with yours, and in return, you will give them a portion of the profits each month or year. Most investors like to see a return on their investments of at least 15%. Syndications usually work well with multi-unit properties to come up with the down payment. On the other hand, you can buy a house outright with the type of money used to pay the down payment on a multi-unit apartment. By doing this, you avoid using any banks, but unfortunately, you won't be leveraging your money. I will talk about more other creative ways that you can fund your deal without using the banks and the power of leveraging your money in the upcoming chapters. One question that you might have is that if you keep getting loans to buy these properties and pass away, are you not just leaving your debt to your children? One solution to solving that problem is to get a life insurance policy that will leave your children enough money to pay off the majority of the properties you own, if not all of them. You can even use the rental income you get from the properties you own to help pay your monthly payment on your insurance policy. Worst case scenario, if your insurance company doesn't want to pay your family after you pass for whatever reason, then you will still have that rental income coming in every month to help cover the expenses. Your loved ones can also use this money to help support their lifestyle while paying down the mortgages. They might only have to keep the property for an additional 10 years or less before it's all paid off. There are other ways you can protect your family, but I just want to show you that this can be done as long as you do your research, take action, and talk to an accountant.